Hey guys, I'm Randy.
And I'm Daniel.
We're two lifelong friends and musicians, but when we're not playing gigs, we like to talk games.
And today on the Gaming Gig podcast, we're talking about how Xbox is potentially changing their name to X Cylinder and the future of smartphone gaming.
Well, we've had a really big leak for Xbox through this FTC thing. You know, this stuff got out. Some people are saying it's the biggest leak ever in gaming because
It took a long time to clean it up.
Yeah, it's not been cleaned up at all.
Well, that would be a mighty big leak.
It would be a mighty big leak. But, you know, I don't know. It's really interesting because although it seems like this crazy leak where basically all of Xboxes and through that, like Bethesda, ZeniMax, like all that stuff, like their future plans from 2020 to 2030 got leaked.
Yes.
But what's really weird is, although it does seem like it's huge, it seems like people don't really care that much.
Nah, there's always leaks, you know? It's like, and maybe this one does have maybe some more legs, but there's always leaks.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me
of
that like Nintendo Giga leak from a few years ago. Mm-hmm. But what's interesting about it is that this involves current stuff that hasn't happened yet or that is happening right now.
Yep.
Obviously, the first thing that like everyone, when this happened, caught on to was this Xbox Series X revision.
Mm-hmm. With no corners.
Yeah, and it's really weird. I have some thoughts on this, specifically about what I think this might, whether it will or will not happen. Mm-hmm. We'll talk about that in a minute. But when this first happened, my first thing was I threw out a poll immediately. And tried to get people's opinions on whether they want one of these things.
Mm-hmm. And so at a whopping 11%, people said yes. And at a measly 89%, I can't believe I had to check the math on that, people said no.
Right. And this is a weird thing. So like almost 90% of people are saying they don't want one of these. It's $499, same price as the current Series X.
Right.
It doesn't have a disk drive.
Right.
It does have a larger SSD, 2 terabytes instead of the 1 that's currently there. Mm-hmm. And it uses slightly less energy.
Yeah, so the only thing people are going to care about there is the disk drive versus the storage, right? And I do think most people nowadays probably would rather have more internal storage than a disk drive. I really do. Mm-hmm. I don't feel that way, but I feel like our numbers are thinning by the day.
You mean in terms of disk drive stuff?
As in terms of people who want or care about a disk drive. Mm-hmm. And who knows, maybe they'll sell you an external one, you know, like the plans for Sony.
Could happen.
But, you know, I think they might be pulling the wool over our eyes here. Mm-hmm. Here's what I think. I think this X Cylinder, Series X, is going to be the exact diameter of a disc. And you're going to get it, and you're going to be able to pop the top off like a can of those like Christmas wafer candies, you know. And the disc is going to slot right down in there, and you just pop the cap back on. You have to pat it down a little bit, and it does have a disc. I think it is a disc drive.
And to get it out, you have to shake it. You have to pick it up and shake the disc out.
That would be crazy. Okay. I don't really think we should try. I don't want to get silly.
Right. Don't want to get silly.
No.
Well, we got a comment here from Dammy.
Whoa, Randy. Whoa.
I know.
Dammyoyesanya
said, people hardly buy Xbox consoles as is. What makes people think they'll buy this? A little harsh, first of all, but there's a little bit of truth.
Yeah,
there.
There's a little bit of truth in that. I mean, if you don't have one yet, are you gonna buy? Are you gonna be like more tempted to buy this now?
Do you think this will replace the Series X?
I guess if they're calling it a Series X.
They're calling it a Series X revision, yeah.
Probably.
Well, that would be very disappointing in my mind. What I was kind of alluded to earlier, and what I actually don't think this is going to happen. Mm. The reason I don't think this is going to happen.
Smoke and mirrors.
Well, let's just think about this. One, we know that these plans were drafted in 2020. Okay? That was 3 years ago at this point.
Yep, math checks out.
And this is obviously just a rendering of a projected. Do you really think 3 years ago they had the design ironed out of exactly what it was going to look like, exactly what it was going to be, and with no, technology changes. New stuff comes around all the time. I think even 3 years later, what they would have maybe thought they were going to do in 2020. I don't think they're going to do that anymore.
I think Phil Spencer woke up one day and he turned off his alarm clock, which conveniently is an Alexa, and he drew inspiration from that Alexa and decided right then and there that 3 years later, this is what the Xbox was going to look like.
Yeah, I just think that this, I know you're joking, but I do think the design is stupid. I really think
it's ridiculous.
A cylindrical Xbox is dumb.
It's ridiculous.
It's not a good design.
Do you think the back of it is flat?
I mean, who cares? I think it's stupid either way.
Yeah, it's not.
It's a bad design.
It's a bad design.
It's a bad design, and I don't think they're going to do it. We got to keep in mind this thing that they came out with also had things like that that cloud gaming little box that was going to go onto your TV, and it was going to leverage the cloud, and it was going to be just a cloud gaming device. Mm-hmm. That is also on there, and we know for a fact that got scrapped, like that, or at least it's currently on hold. It's not a thing. It should have already been out by now. We saw it. We know that the prototypes got built because we saw it on Phil Spencer's shelf from that one thing. So we know it existed, but it's not out. I think since this was 3 years ago, not that long ago, maybe like a month or two ago, Phil Spencer said that there would not be a mid-gen refresh of the Xbox. And obviously he could have been lying about it, but I don't see that. To me, this is so uncompelling that I think Xbox would be way smarter just to continue to sell the current Series X. Mm-hmm. Don't make any revisions to it, because this is actually a step back.
I mean, is it a step back?
It has a better hard drive, and that's like
the way I see it for the layman is that it's a lateral move. I don't see it as a step forward or a step back, because I do think, like the kids I teach, I think they would rather have more internal storage than a disk drive. I know they would. I think, and I think a lot of people feel that way. So to say that it's a step back, and I am kind of playing, Spencer's advocate here,
right?
But to say that it's a step back, I really think it's kind of a sideways step.
Well, even if it is,
it's a step back for us.
Yeah, even if it is just a lateral step, even if it is just a sideways step, I still don't think it makes sense to confuse the market with it by putting it out when it's like, okay, there's this new Xbox. Does it do anything different? No. Right. It does nothing different.
Well, I mean, it does, it does continue the ever impending march towards the all digital future.
Right. And I think that that's definitely a thing, but it just doesn't make sense to me. And I think that these plans very likely have changed the design. Even if they do a mid-gen refresh, which I'm not convinced that they're going to do, I'm not sure that it's going to look like this.
I hope not. That's the thing I hate the most about it.
Yeah.
It's got box in the name.
I know.
I rest my case.
All right. Hit us with this next comment, Daniel.
All right. Aoskar says, I already have one, so I'm not interested. And while the lack of disk drive is a concern, we've heard rumors of Xbox working on external disk drive for the Series S, or more likely, this.
Right. Now, that's been a rumor for a long time that the Series S was going to get a external disk drive. We've heard the same rumor about Sony, you brought up a minute ago. PlayStation getting an external disk drive for its digital model or whatever the revision is. It's really strange because, it almost is like as the consoles get more and more powerful, revisions make less and less sense.
Oh, yeah. A mid-cycle refresh this generation is going to be way less of a step up than last generation. Last generation, you got to play in 4K. There were some legit things. This generation, what's it going to be?
Right. I mean, one could argue that the difference between like a PS4 Pro and a PS5 is like next to nothing. And you could also say the same thing about an Xbox One X to a Series X. There is a difference, but to the average consumer, there is no difference.
Right. Yeah. And there's a huge difference between a PS4 original OG model and the PS4 Pro.
Agreed.
Like a bigger difference than between the Pro and the 5, like you said.
And even with older software, we've seen like the Switch come in. And although the Switch did get updated models, we essentially really never got a mid-gen refresh for the Switch besides the OLED screen. Right. And that really doesn't count. That's like, it's just the screen.
Yeah. But don't we think COVID might have kind of screwed those plans up?
Potentially, yes. But we've seen that they've proven that you don't need a mid-gen refresh for the system to keep selling well.
True.
Because at the end of the day, it's all about the games. So I don't know. I don't think that if I was Xbox, I think this would be a poor move. Now there's some other things that was also outlined in this leak, and we'll get to those in a minute. But first, before we do that, we have a comment from bbthumb who said, half the reason I get one is to play 360 games, so hard pass.
Okay.
Now you can still play your 360 games because you can buy them on the store.
Yeah.
But you can't use your discs.
Right. You have to buy them again.
You have to buy them again. Yeah. Ooh. Yeah, that would be a hard. I mean, absolutely.
Which is why I think this makes more sense for Xbox than maybe we're giving them credit for.
I don't think so, because
it's all about the money, man.
Yeah, people do play older games on their consoles. And it's awesome that the Xbox is so backwards compatible. Mm-hmm. You can play original Xbox games. You can play basically every Xbox game that you've ever owned on it, for the most part. Some exceptions. But yeah, people do that, but I don't know how much of a money maker that really is, because those games are only a couple bucks each.
Yeah. No, I don't think it's huge. I just think anything they can do to move it towards all digital, where you basically have to buy from them, I think they want.
Yeah. And you made me, as you were saying that, it kind of reminded me that I think they do want that. But the reason I think they want that is for what they really want you to be is on Game Pass. And yeah, that's all digital, but they just want you to be on Game Pass. And it makes me think that because Game Pass is all about just getting more and more people there, I think having a $500 device doesn't really help that much. I think they'd be better off going towards the Series S.
Yeah.
Really pushing that.
Yeah. I mean, I know that people have their problems with the Series S, but I've always thought it was great for that.
Oh, yeah, it's $300.
Yeah, it's a great deal.
Yeah, so.
All right. Well, before we move on to some additional Xbox leaks, we do want to tell you about our Discord server. We hang out there all the time. We post scores for these little mobile games we play. We give each other a hard time. We post pictures of our adorable kitties. If you want to join our Discord server, and you should, follow the link in the description of this video.
We'd love to see you there, guys. All right, so some other Xbox leak things that happened. One is that there are apparently plans for an Xbox handheld. What's really weird is that apparently this will be a kind of hybrid handheld, but not in the hybrid like a Switch hybrid, but like a hybrid between natively playing games and leveraging the cloud to maybe make those games run better, have different stuff that maybe it wouldn't be able to do natively, like leverage some cloud stuff to enhance the games or make them, more high quality for a handheld.
This is way
weird concept.
This is way above my pay grade because I never would have thought that was possible.
Apparently it is. Apparently they've already done it with a game.
Really?
They've done it with a game in the past where it was some things that you would do would be computed through the cloud and it would be brought to you. It wasn't just it wasn't being done. I think it was Crackdown 3.
Oh man, I used to love Crackdown.
So
Crackdown was so fun back in the day.
So I think
leave us a comment if you ever played Crackdown.
I've never played. I think Crackdown 3 really flopped. So I don't know. But
yeah. So you would be running the game natively, but which I guess would cut down on some of that lag that we don't like from cloud.
Right.
But maybe you're not pushing your system so hard to render everything, or you maybe get some enhanced graphics or...
Yeah, I'm not really sure how it works, to be honest with you.
Okay.
I'm not sure how it would be implemented, but one thing I know is that if anyone's going to make moves like this in the cloud gaming sector, I do think Xbox and Microsoft are the ones to do it.
I do too.
In fact, I do think that for me, cloud gaming might be a big part of Xbox's future. I think that they're potentially going to be the ones who bring it, forth in a way that they, this is going to be their market. Like they can carve out a little space of their own in the cloud market. I
mean, I'm willing to see it through. I always thought it would be really cool if it just always worked perfectly well. And I mean, I just don't know that we're there yet.
I don't think we're there yet either. I think that, the other day we were playing some cloud. We played It Takes Two through the cloud. And when we were playing it and it worked great, actually.
It did. It worked great.
There was some compression in the visuals and stuff, and sure a teensy bit of lag, but unplayable it was not.
Unplayable it was not.
In fact, it was pretty good. So I think if they could, as cloud technology gets better and better, And I think it will get better.
Yeah.
I think that Xbox has potential of doing something. So I would like to see them create a handheld, because I do think that if they were able to make a handheld that did play at least somewhat natively, played games, and use this handheld form factor, it would compete. I do think it would compete with Nintendo in a way.
Yeah. And I do agree. I want to go back to what you just said, as cloud continues to get better and better, because the next time we tried to play It Takes Two, we couldn't even both get in at the same time.
Right.
So clearly there is work to be done there, but I agree. If they work all those kinks out, then that would be awesome. And it could be some sort of Nintendo competition.
I would like to see it. I mean, we've talked about this before, and I think last time we talked about, I said that I don't think Sony is the person to create this handheld to compete with Nintendo. I said that I think Xbox would be a better suitable candidate for it.
Mm-hmm. Well, clearly Sony's not going to compete with this, because they already said you can't use cloud on the portal.
Right. Weird.
So
super weird.
Such a weird decision.
The fact that they haven't really fully unraveled or rolled out, I guess is the word, their cloud gaming stuff. Like Sony hasn't even done it yet. So maybe they can't get it to work in a way that they want quite yet.
Maybe we'll get a software update or something and it'll work.
I wonder if Sony are a little bit, being Japanese, maybe their mindset is if they can't do it really well right now, they might wait. I think that's more of those Japanese sensibilities where, Xbox is an American company. Maybe they don't really care as much if it doesn't work as good. They're willing to throw it out there and
Sony
get it
being a little more respectful and thoughtful about their approach, and Xbox, these brash Americans just throwing it against the wall and counting the money.
Well, you know what I mean.
I don't disagree with that.
No, I really do think that there's some potential there that maybe that is a thing. That being said, it gives me hope that maybe the portal will actually work pretty well.
I'm just imagining Phil Spencer counting stacks of money in his office and blasting Toby Keith. That's what I'm imagining right now.
Yeah. I don't know. But I do think an Xbox handheld would be cool. I really do.
If it was priced well, I'd get one.
And if it able to play some games natively to really cut down on lag, that would be even better.
That'd be awesome.
I don't know if it's going to happen. And if it is, it probably is going to be quite expensive. But if they could figure out a way to get it cheaper to actually compete with Switch price-wise, I think that would be really cool.
That would be hard.
I know it would be hard, but if they're able to somehow get an approach where it leveraged the cloud so that it didn't have to all be done on the device, you'd still have to always be online though, and that's the one thing.
Yeah, that's a huge tether.
Yeah.
If you can't take your handheld anywhere but your house, it's still cool, but it's not as cool.
Right. Well, so moving on to our last Xbox discussion before we move on to mobile gaming, or actually playing console games on mobile phones. Before we get there,
blurring the lines.
I wanted to, something I've been thinking about is Game Pass, Xbox's only path to success, or is that their best chance at success? Is it through Game Pass? Or is there a way that they can figure out a different way to be successful in the gaming market?
Well, they have thrown so many eggs into the Game Pass basket. I mean, at this point, if they pivot, that's going to be a hell of a pivot.
Yeah, it will be. I think they have discovered that consoles aren't the thing.
Right.
We've seen it now 2 times in a row, and it's the Series X and Series S, they're doing okay, but they're not lighting the world on fire, and the Xbox One was pretty much a flop. So I think they've realized that selling consoles isn't the way to do it. I think they just kind of got lucky with the 360, to be honest.
Yeah, 360 was big.
Yeah. And I think that by getting out ahead of the PS3, and then the PS3 being really overpriced at first, I think they just kind of got lucky. Not that 360 wasn't awesome, and there were some cool games on it, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think if the PS3 had been cheaper and come out at the same time, I don't think the 360 would have been nearly as successful. But that's really besides the point.
What if Xbox, clearly it's the software or maybe the subscription service, whatever. What if they could almost take the Valve approach and become the premier digital storefront in gaming, and maybe even get their stuff on other consoles or something somehow. I don't know how anybody would okay that at Sony, but
yeah. I mean,
There's a lot of money in software.
I think you've got a point there. Maybe not the Valve approach that way, but what if they just look to have Game Pass everywhere? Get Game Pass on Switch. Get it on.
That would be so big.
Like, you know, if we saw it on PlayStation, like if they just said, look, we're not going to compete in the console market anymore. We just have this thing called Game Pass, and it, like, on other devices, like say if it was something that can run them natively, sure, it can run it natively, but if it can't run them natively, it's going to be cloud-based. Like still, even if you had a cloud version of Game Pass on Switch, it would still be huge. It would be super cool.
So you're saying they just completely like bow out of the console race at all? Say, we're not making it anymore?
I'm not saying they should. I just wonder if it would be a viable
I know, I'm
path.
not saying should, but because that's about the only way you could get Sony and especially Sony, probably to say, okay, we'll put Game Pass on our stuff.
Right.
If they know all that money people would have spent on Series Y,
Yeah.
they don't have to. You know, now they have to buy the PS6.
Well, I don't even know that even if they did that, I don't know that Sony would be cool with that. I don't, Nintendo maybe. You know, Nintendo and Microsoft have kind of been a little buddy-buddy, but I wonder how much of that's going to change now that these emails have been leaked of Phil Spencer very brazenly being like, we should buy Nintendo.
Yeah.
They're just dumb and don't realize that their future is off their own hardware. Like,
that was a really like...
Wasn't that crazy?
That was like some James Bond villain, like mustache twirling, like... What does he even say? They're so dumb. Like
he didn't say
dumb, but that's exactly what I took from it too.
Right.
You know, they're so dumb that they don't realize their future's off their own hardware. Is he saying Nintendo doesn't realize how valuable their hardware is?
He's saying that Nintendo's future is in their games, that their games are the thing that makes Nintendo what it is, and they would be even more successful if they would branch out and go to other hardware.
I see. Off. Okay.
Yeah.
See, I actually interpreted that different. So you're saying he meant literally off Nintendo branded hardware.
Yes.
Okay. I interpreted that as he was saying their future is based off their hardware.
No.
See, I interpreted that different. So either way, that's some ridiculous stuff to be leaked.
Yeah, it's crazy.
We caught Phil Spencer with his James Bond villain pants down.
It's just very interesting. But the question is it Game Pass? That's, kind of going back to our discussion here. Is Game Pass their most likely, path to success in the gaming industry?
And is Phil Spencer prophesizing his own future? Because maybe his success is with Game Pass off his hardware.
Potentially. Seriously, though.
I do think Game Pass is extremely valuable and a great service. I think people are a little subscription service calloused and jaded at this point.
For sure.
I know I am. But yeah, I think Game Pass could potentially be their most likely path to success because I don't know how they pivot at this point and right the ship.
Right. I don't think that they're going to, we've had, I realize I'm just I'm thinking through this as I say it, but the Xbox games are just not compelling enough right now. Mm-hmm. And it's sad to say, but we got this Halo game that just disappointed for a lot of people. I know some people really liked it, but this Halo game disappointed. Mm-hmm. We had things like Redfall.
Yeah, Redfall.
And they do have some good games. I really like the Forza Horizon games, but that's not enough. That's just not enough.
And I really like Starfield.
Yeah.
I do. I really like it.
I like Starfield too, but I don't.
I like Starfield too.
Dude, those NPCs will stare you down like nothing else.
Dude, it is
I just want them to blink. Just blink.
You got any credits? You mess around here, we don't play. Welcome to Neon.
But I really don't think that even Starfield's it's not enough.
No.
It's just not enough. Really, I think I don't even think Sony's doing enough this generation with the PlayStation 5. They haven't done enough.
Yeah.
So I think it goes both ways, but still people are way more gravitating to the PS5, so I don't know.
I mean, we're saying people haven't done enough this year in a year that we are literally debating whether or not it's the best year in gaming ever. So how much do we need?
Well, I'm not saying we need, but yeah, true. But I'm saying specifically Microsoft and Xbox has not done enough to convince people that we're having a great year in gaming, but most of those games are being played on Switch and PlayStation.
But you said Sony wasn't doing enough either. That's what kind of made me think if they're not doing it, it wasn't all Nintendo.
First party.
Yeah.
First party. And yeah, this has been a great year for gaming, but it's largely been third-party stuff.
Yeah.
You know, it's been multi-platform stuff. The only real huge, like, game that has, like, really shook the earth, and that was a first-party game, was Tears of the Kingdom. Mm-hmm. So.
That's true.
So, I don't know. Okay, we got one more topic here that we're going to discuss. We're going to pivot away from Xbox. We're going to talk about this crazy stuff on mobile phones playing console games. But first, I want to tell you about our Twitch channel. We stream on Twitch on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays at 8 p.m. Eastern at gaminggig.
Gaminggig.
Wait, what?
Twitch.
Wait.
Gaming.
Twitch.tv/gaminggig.
That's it.
Gosh.
Twitch.tv/gaminggig. Yes.
I couldn't remember how URLs work.
Well, it's weird. Twitch is a weird one.
Twitch is a weird one.
Yeah,
Not
you
really.
throw in
though.
that TV. That's what throws me.
Yeah, that's what threw me off.
Yeah.
But anyways, we would love to see you there. You know, we've been streaming all kinds of stuff. Recently, we started a playthrough of It Takes Two, like we mentioned earlier.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of serving as me and Randy's marriage counseling.
We need it. We need it badly.
Yeah, yeah.
But also, we've been doing some, like I've done some just kind of like just chatting streams. We've been talking about recently. I went through and cataloged all my Nintendo Switch games.
Yeah.
Which was cool and very fun. And I might continue to do that with the rest of my physical collection. It wouldn't be as cool if I was going through my digital collection, would it?
Wouldn't be near as cool.
Right.
There would be no point. I wouldn't even tune in.
Right.
No, I enjoyed your last stream when you told the heartfelt story of Breath of the Wild.
Well, yeah.
Dang near brought a tear to my eye. And I was just lurking.
See, come hang out with us on Twitch. It's a great place to chat with us. All right, man. So the new iPhone got revealed, and oddly, they made a really big deal about gaming on this thing.
They did.
The new iPhone and iPad.
Mm-hmm, yeah, so you're going to be able to play some of newer AAA games like Resident Evil. You're going to be able to play Assassin's Creed Mirage, Death Stranding, which keeps continuing to have some legs. Maybe it's because it's such a walking game. Maybe the legs are important. Anyway, did I miss anything? I feel like there was a fourth.
Resident Evil 4 Remake, Resident Evil Village, Assassin's Creed Mirage, and Death Stranding.
Okay, so maybe it's just those two Resident Evil games is why I was thinking 4.
I think those are the ones that were most... There may be another that I missed, but those are the ones that I was interested in.
Yeah, and I feel like they're kind of testing the waters here.
Obviously, yeah, they are. Now, we got... Resident Evil Village is an interesting one because it also got ported to Mac, and that was a big deal because it was kind of like not many console games get ported to Mac.
Yeah. Mac is not known as the gaming platform,
but so it's kind of been at other places. It's been on like Mac, laptops and stuff like that. But now it's going to be on the iPhone, which is just bizarre. And from what I've seen, they Capcom did an event at Tokyo Game Show where they had the game running on iPads and stuff, and apparently it actually runs okay.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not surprised, honestly. Like those new iPhones probably have, well, they do have like this new chip that everybody's making a big deal out of. I mean, I'm not honestly that surprised, and I'm honestly excited about it. I really am. So we asked the people, are you interested in playing console games natively on your smartphone? 17% of people said yes. And then that leaves 83% who said not at all.
Obviously people aren't that interested in this, but I think for a certain person, this will be very appealing.
Well, I mean, I think what I think is so cool about it is like, it kind of goes back to the Switch. Like the Switch is so cool because it does everything, and it can go with you. Well, what do you have with you all the time? Your phone, right? Yeah. These new iPhones even have USB-C so they can plug into external monitors and stuff. I've seen it on YouTube. It works.
That's pretty cool.
So you can have your freaking phone, plug it into your buddy's, monitor or TV or whatever, hook up a couple Bluetooth controllers, which already works, and you guys are playing a game, like a console game right there on your TV. You didn't have to bring anything with you but your phone. That is cool. And if it really took off and continued to expand, I could see that leading to some really, really cool stuff. I mean, I went through, I have an iPhone 14, and when I got it, I went through all the mobile games I could find, finding the ones I liked, and I hadn't played mobile games in a while, basically. And I found some good ones, right? But mobile games are, inherently limited and almost limited by their own greed because they're all just like trying to get your money through microtransactions, right? So if we could get away from some of that and get some of these actual like heavy hitting games on these phones ad free, that's a win-win-win.
Yeah, it's interesting.
I think.
Let's move into some of the comments here. Let's see what people have to say. Nerdynooki said, the idea of playing on mobile is great in itself. Very convenient and great portable alternative. It's just hopefully the game in question will have controller support or a very, very friendly touch control scheme that doesn't feel awkward. Yeah, I mean, I think playing with the controller has to be the main way to go here. But
yeah.
These do have touch controls.
They do.
But it really looks crowded on the screen. It doesn't look great, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, you're going to want to be playing through a Bluetooth controller or a Backbone or, one of those mobile gaming controllers for sure. You're not going to want to play this on touch.
Yeah, I don't think I would want to do it.
No.
I've tried back, remember when Grand Theft Auto, like some of the games from the original Grand Theft Auto trilogy were ported to mobile. I thought that was crazy cool at the time, and I did buy and play through. I think it was a Vice City. I didn't play through the whole thing, but I tried to play through Vice City using touch controls. Not my thing.
No.
Not my thing.
And another thing, which maybe it's going to be brought up in a comment, I just scanned through it. I don't really think it is. These phones are way more expensive than any console.
God.
So it can't be like the reason you buy it.
Right.
It just has to be like a BA bonus,
But when you consider that you probably are going to buy one of these expensive phones anyway, if we can get to the point where they really are a console alternative, which I think we're still quite a ways away.
We are.
We're talking about 4 games here.
Yeah.
And it may open the flood doors and we may get more and more and more, It may happen. But, if they eventually do become a viable console alternative, like you're mentioning, where you just go and plug it into your TV or whatever, at that point, I think it actually is a pretty decent value proposition because you don't have to buy that $500 console.
Right. That's true.
Or that $300 Switch, I'm not saying it's going to save you money necessarily, but it at least might even out,
Yeah, there's a certain amount of give and take there.
Right.
If you truly don't have to buy the new PlayStation or the new Xbox because you got an iPhone.
Right.
And
Now,
I think we're like...
Who knows? Maybe 10 years from now, that might be something we're talking about.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Like, it's not this year. It's not next year.
But it's cool that we're starting to see little glimmers. And the way technology goes is first you get the little glimmer of something, and then eventually one day it's like it's all in. We get that huge step forward. And who knows? It probably will happen. It could happen sooner than we think.
And it's weird to me that, so Apple is so known for locking their crap down tight, you know. But this year, they not only did they give you USB-C, but
they kind of had to do that. They had to do that.
Yes, they had to. Yeah, I'm not trying to make it sound like they did some sort of
they didn't give it to you.
They didn't do a humanitarian act for the consumers. No, they were forced by the European Union because they passed a law.
Yeah.
But they could have given you USB-C and locked it down just like a lightning port was. But they didn't. It's open for all sorts of these peripherals and accessories. So it's weird to me what I was going to say that this is happening on Apple. You would think this would be way more Android than Apple.
It feels way more Android.
What Apple has going for it is that it's the biggest company in the world, I think. If not, it's top 3 easily.
Yeah. It's one of them.
So that's why, maybe Capcom can see some return on this investment.
Yeah, we also got Ubisoft coming with Assassin's Creed.
Yeah.
We got Kojima coming in with Death Stranding. That is really cool. I don't think that any of these games are particularly great to be played on mobile personally, but I think it's cool that they are. And that's the thing. That's the reason they're interesting is because they are console games. And it's weird that they're on, a phone. It's just crazy. So while Daniel's looking up whatever he's looking up, I'm moving on to the next comment, which is from Salvatore, who said, you can use your phone as an emulator, then you can basically turn your phone into a Steam Deck. I like the idea of pulling my phone out and gaming at work.
Yeah.
And you totally can do that.
Yeah.
Already. You've been able to do that for years.
Yes. Now, you can do that, but it's not easy to emulate on an iPhone.
No.
That goes back to them having this thing locked down.
Yeah.
It's not that easy.
I've done it. You can do it through browser emulation. There's things you can do.
You can do it through browser emulation. I do have an app. It's called Eclipse Emulator, and it works, but it doesn't always work perfectly, and I don't really use it that much.
I think if you jailbreak your iPhone, it's much easier.
Yeah, or sideload. Like you through like the developer mode, you can sideload a little bit, and that might be your path to success there. What I was looking up is that Apple is indeed the number one most valuable company in the world.
Well, there you go. Yeah, but using your phone as an emulator, I think is definitely. I mean, that's something that we talk about. Android being an Android thing, that's huge on Android.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, that's where you do it.
Yeah, that's where you do it. Yeah,
it really is. And yeah, I mean, you're right. You're at that point, if your phone can emulate as well as play the new stuff, you are carrying around a Steam Deck.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Yeah,
way more expensive than a Steam Deck. Still,
way more expensive than a Steam Deck.
Yeah. All right, hit us with Ninblastos.
Ninblasto said, it'd honestly be a cool option for a way to play the game for people who can't afford the console it's on or the actual game, or it'd be cool to see forgotten games from the past be fully revived on new consoles as well as the smartphone, similar to Sonic 1, 2, and CD.
We did see some Sonic games coming to mobile, which is neat. But I think what the takeaway from me here is he's saying it's maybe good for people who can't afford the console or the actual games. One thing we don't know, I don't think we know how much these console games are going to be priced at. I don't think they put out prices yet.
I bet they're full price.
$60?
I bet they're $60. They're not marketing it as like a cheap port. Like this is the game. This is Resident Evil 4 Remake.
Yeah.
I bet it's $60. And what I took away from this is if you can't afford the console and the game, you definitely can't afford an iPhone 15 Pro Max.
Right.
So I don't know.
I see your point, though, saying that maybe it would be a cheaper alternative, but I don't think they're going to. I agree with you, Daniel. I don't think they're going to discount the games.
No.
And the device is going to be obviously a super premium device that, you can't afford if you can't afford a console, most likely.
Now, like we've said, if it's a one purchase that if your phone becomes like your gaming Swiss Army knife,
right? Then it's different.
That's a lot more value.
Yeah.
But it's still not cheap.
No.
And it's probably still not even cheaper.
And games and phones, I should say, aren't getting cheaper. They're getting more expensive.
Yes.
It's weird because normally as technology progresses, things go down in value, but we haven't seen that with phones.
No.
They're getting more and more expensive every year. Remember when you used to be able to buy a new iPhone for like $400?
Yeah.
Remember when that happened?
Yeah. And, he's talking about these forgotten games from the past. Well, that kind of already happens on mobile.
Yeah, definitely.
Like our friend Dan, hanging on Discord, you'll meet Dan, is playing Chrono Trigger on his iPhone.
Right. I mean, it already happens.
Yeah. Happens with Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah.
I think Final Fantasy Pixel remasters are on mobile, maybe.
I think so.
Yeah. So lots of stuff.
I mean, what is interesting to me is that we're actually getting like console level games on mobile. That to me is the intriguing thing that we haven't seen yet.
Yeah.
At least not new, current. Like Resident Evil 4 Remake just came out.
Yeah.
Resident
Assassin's
Evil
Creed Mirage ain't out yet.
It's not out. You're right. Now that is going to be a cross gen game, so it's not like it's pushing the hardware really strong.
Yeah.
In fact, all these games were either last gen or cross gen.
Right.
So it's not like they're putting out something that is an exclusive to like the Series X, like Starfield's not there, or like a PS5 exclusive, like we're not seeing Returnal there or something. Although
I had Starfield on my phone just the other day.
You were playing it through cloud.
I did.
Yeah.
Worked awful because I was at somebody else's house that had bad internet.
Yeah. All right, we got Mr.Foxhat who said, I miss getting more original premium games on mobile. The 2000s were the absolute best in that department with games like Infinity Blade, Nova, Nowhere, Doom RPG, and The Quest. Do you mean 2010s? Or am I 2000s?
I was not playing.
There were no mobile games in the 2000s.
The iPhone came out in 2004. I happen to know off the top of my head.
So maybe it was the 2000s.
Or maybe it was 7. Actually, I think it was 7.
Definitely not 2004.
Yeah, it was 7. It was 7.
Yeah.
Sorry. I bet he means 10s.
I mean, maybe it could have been the 2000. It could have been the early. When did these games? I'm not big on premium mobile games. I don't know any of these games.
Yeah.
Literally none of them.
Doom RPG came out in. Oh my goodness, we are getting such a delay here.
What do you mean?
Because they don't have the release date listed like right off the bat here, so I got to actually click into a link.
Oh gosh!
It was published. The game was released in October of 2005.
What was it on?
It was a mobile game, so it was on stuff.
What smartphones weren't even around? Was it on BlackBerry?
It might have been on BlackBerry. I don't know what.
Mr. Foxhat.
You're asking me questions here that I'm not prepared to answer. Platforms. Java platform, micro edition. I don't know what this is.
You are like literally hitting us with stuff. At this time, I wasn't playing mobile games. My phone in 2004 was not a smartphone, obviously.
Mm-mm.
And it could not. I don't even know that I had a phone in 2004. I got a Nokia brick probably in 2004.
In 2004, let's see, we were
That was starting. That would have been like the
freshman year.
Yeah, high school.
High school.
Yeah.
I was one phone removed from a Nokia brick because I did start on a Nokia brick that my dad like gave to me when he was done with it, and I think I was in the 8th grade then. Mm-hmm. And I think I had like this Motorola flip phone when we were freshmen.
You weren't playing Doom RPG on it, were you?
I was not playing Doom RPG, but I did play games I did play games on it.
Well, the only games I ever played on my phone back then was like Snake.
Yeah, I mean, I did play Snake. And I remember I played this it was like a shoot 'em up game where you were a plane and you shot. It was a vertical shoot 'em up, you know? I don't know, man. I remember playing that game.
Interesting. So, Daniel, I couldn't imagine buying a console game on a smartphone right now because I think it would be a waste of money, personally. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah.
I think it's really cool, and maybe for a certain person who's not really invested into the gaming, thing, you don't have all the consoles and stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe then it's actually worth the money. But to me right now, I'm not that interested until things progress.
Well, our phones can't do it anyway, so don't worry about it.
Right.
But yeah, this is not for us. This is not for the guys who've already bought all the current consoles. Mm-hmm. This is, maybe for the person who just happened to get the new iPhone this year, and back on the GameCube, they loved Resident Evil 4, and they haven't bought a console since, and now they realize they can play it again. Maybe it's for that person,
or maybe just the extreme tech enthusiast who's like, I just want to play it on phone just to see what it's like.
Yeah, I mean, that's very interesting to me, but it wouldn't be $60 interesting.
Although I have to say, the other day I wrote a review for Resident Evil Village played in VR, and through that I had to kind of go back, and it's been a little while since I even played it in VR, but I had to go back and just watch and capture some gameplay footage and stuff. That game's amazing. So Resident Evil Village is phenomenal. It just reminded me of how good that game is.
Yeah.
So it's worth playing if you haven't played it. And if you don't have a way to play it, maybe play it on your phone. Maybe play it on your shiny new iPhone.
What I could see myself doing as far as gaming on a phone would be something like what Dan did, where he bought Chrono Trigger because I told him how amazing it is. Mm-hmm. It wasn't that expensive.
Right.
And now he has it with him everywhere he goes. I could see myself doing something like that with an RPG that's like 20 years old, or more.
But probably not Resident Evil. Like, if you're going to play a Resident Evil game, you're going to play it on a console.
100%.
That's how I feel.
Right now. But 10 years from now, when our phones can wirelessly sync up to any monitor we encounter, and we're part robot.
We're going to be part robot in 10 years?
Well, I don't think we're going to be fully robot. That would be
very small part.
Well, it's like I tell my kids, right? They'll ask me to do some crazy calculation in my head, and I'll be like, I can't do that. I'm not a computer yet. And you just leave it at that.
Yet. Well, folks, we have gotten to the end of the podcast. If you hung out with us this entire time, we want to shout you out at the end of the next podcast to thank you for hanging out with us this entire time. So we do that through our 3 for Dale Club. So what you got to do is leave us a comment in the YouTube version of the podcast. And in the comment, just include the phrase 3 for Dale. That's our secret code phrase that lets us know that you made it all the way to the end, and we'll know to shout you out at the end of the next podcast.
That's right. So this week's 3 for Dale Club has 5 fantastic people. Leading us off is D18. Welcome back.
D18, always there for us. Next, we got Laninator, who is also always there for us, and very big member of our Discord channel.
That's right. Laninator recently came through Clutch with some... with a couple of bots that he worked on developing that, add some more functionality to our Discord server. So that's really cool.
Love it.
Next up, we have Landon Dale himself Stallings.
One day we're just going to stop calling him Landon. It's just going to be Dale.
I mean, he literally changed his Twitch name to Dale himself. So we're on our way.
It's amazing. Next, we got Addie back again. Addie, thank you for being here.
He's back again. And rounding us out is Tom Derry. Tom, we love having you here, man.
Yep, absolutely. All right, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out. Until next time, I'm Randy.
Which makes me Daniel.
And this has been Gaming Gig.
Go Braves!